welcome to episode 45 of the Classic Rock Podcast. For those about to board, we salute you. On this episode, Matt and I will be discussing the latest news. It's B in the A to Z of rock. This episode, we have Hidden Gems, we have Book Club of Rock, and we have some stonkingly new rock on the block. And here he is, everybody. No, he hasn't left the podcast. The sod. If he'd let me in the April Fools, I would have been very happy. Mr. Matt Rogers, how are you, mate? Welcome back to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was just a bit of fun. Although a couple of people were quite pleased. Oh, great. I didn't like him anyway. It's Tony Iommi impersonations. Yeah, you know who you are. Yeah, that's just a bit of fun. Just a bit of fun.
Exactly.
And it was April Fool's. You fell for it though, didn't you?
I fell for it. It was the first thing on social media I saw on April Fool's Day was, sorry to hear the departure of, and I'm like going, what?
I know. As with most things, I cooked that up when I was walking the dog.
You do. Thank you.
There you go. Also, thanks to everyone who donated to our recent charity venture. We raised our target for the UK charity shelter, which provides, is relating to homelessness and provides or looks to provide quality housing for those that need it. So thank you, everyone, and well done to John Buchanan, who won the mug. Lucky John. And to Matt Graydon, who won I say won, will get their hands on the mug and the Lives of Brian book, respectively. We'll probably do another one of those, Brian.
Yes.
I quite enjoyed that. It was quite a struggle, but we got there in the end.
We've got loads of mugs to give away, haven't we?
Loads. Well, less now because I've dropped more recently. So we've got bits of mugs to give away now. Which I think are probably worth more than the actual mug themselves. Now, we've got plenty of mugs. If you want one, I don't know, send us an email or something. I don't know. Right, what you got for us, Brian? What has caught your eye, Brian?
So in the news, Matt, just when we thought things were calming down in the world of rock,
yes.
Ace Frehley is calling out Paul Stanley, and Ace is going to dish the dirt on Paul and Gene, and then he decides after speaking to his friends and going to an AA meeting, I'm not going to do that. We think the world of rock has calmed down, and lo and behold, all is not well in the land of Motley Crue, it would appear.
Not for the first time.
Not for the first time. So we thought that Mick Mars, the wonderful guitar player that Mick Mars, had retired from Motley Crue, and he'd retired from touring.
Yeah.
And he was going to sit out the tour, and John Five, amazing guitar player, and they'd been playing with John, was going to do the live shows, and Mick was going to stay a member of the band. So Mick has filed a lawsuit this week accusing the band of pushing him out of the group and trying to cut him out of future earnings. So Motley Crue, and he's also said as well too that he was the only member of the band who was playing all of his parts live on stage. Nikki Sixx's bass parts were pre-recorded, some of Tommy Lee's drums, and I think we featured on a show in the not so distant past where there was some footage of Tommy Lee running to his drums. Do you remember that?
That's right. I do remember that. Yeah.
So he was running to his drums, and the drums had already started. So So more to follow on the Motley Crue, and obviously Motley Crue have responded back to say that they've been carrying Mick for years, and poor old Bob Daisley has. Who we love dearly, one of my hidden gem, or one of my
Unsung Heroes.
Thank you.
You do remember the features, don't you? That's Unsung Heroes.
I do.
My goodness.
So, yes. So, I think there'll be more.
What's Bob Daisley got to do with anything?
Yes,
You just wanted to throw him in.
No.
You get a pound every time you mention Bob Daisley.
Bob Daisley. No, Bob Daisley. Whenever Motley Crue in the 80s, when they were supporting Ozzy on one of the early tours, the band were going to kick Mick Mars out of the band, and Bob Daisley convinced the remaining members of Motley Crue, don't kick Mick out of the band, because as a band you have a chemistry, and he used the example of Lee Kerslake and himself. When you had the original Blizzard of Oz band, you've got that chemistry, don't mess with the chemistry. So he said he convinced Motley Crue to keep Mick Mars in the band. So I'm sure more to follow, Matthew, in the lovely world of Motley Crue. How about you?
Well, talking of, I don't want to be smug about this, of course, but I will be. So talking of touring guitarists who retired. So Paul Quinn from Saxon, as we mentioned last time, has retired from touring. And one of us predicted it would be Brian Tatler from Diamond Head who would take over. And another, lo and behold, I thought pantomime season was over.
You called it.
I called it. And that's great. That's good for Brian. Diamond Head are going to continue, thankfully, which is good. I mean, we're in an era now where and we probably always have been, where musicians, can straddle two bands because they're out there to make a living. I mean, we've said that many times. Gone are the days where you can sell lots of albums or tour, mega stadiums. Brian Tatler, when he's not playing with Diamond Head, he gets royalties from the Metallica covers, but he also teaches guitar. He's a guitar teacher. So, I'd be pleased with this exposure. Diamond Head will get some exposure and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's good. And Saxon will continue and be interested. I'm interested to see it. I mean, good on Paul Quinn. We wish him well in his kind of retirement from touring. But it'd be good to see Brian, the other Brian in my life, up there playing with Saxon.
The only thing I would ask, Matthew, is in the next time, see when Thin Lizzy or Scott Gorham when he's putting Thin Lizzy again, can you chuck that guess in? Do you know who I think the new lead guitarist in Thin Lizzy should be? And can you drop my name in?
I will.
I know I'm not very good.
No, you're not a great guitarist. You're not very good, but I'll try. I'll throw it out there and see if it sticks.
Maybe that was the April Fool. You keep that as an April Fool for next year. Scott, don't reform Lizzie until next year.
No, true. So that was that. Yeah. So more to come on both those stories. Well, just come back to what you said about Motley Crue. John Five. Say his real name. We talked a bit last time about stage names and alii. Is it aliases or alii? I was thinking about that. Anyway.
His name is John Lowry.
Is it?
John Lowry.
Okay. Was there another Lowry? Another John Lowry? I just change it to something else.
Who knows?
John Five. Why do I pick John Five? It's weird, isn't it? We'll have to do a bit at some point about how you choose a stage name.
Or just do what Slipknot do. It's like everybody's just a number.
That's true. Yeah. I know what number you'd be. 15. Just sort of celebrate your 15 years at university. There you go. Job done.
There you go. There you go.
Right, should we move on before we get to
exactly.
territory.
Another band we feature quite a lot. Good news. Download is, for the first time in its new format, completely sold out, Matthew. So the four nights, the 2 nights with Metallica. So if anybody wants to go to see Metallica this year and you've missed out on downloads, you can go and see Metallica on. I genuinely thought this was an April Fool, Matt. In October, the bill for a festival, and it's called Power Trip. And the bands playing on Power Trip are, on the Friday night, Guns N' Roses and Iron Maiden. The Saturday night, AC/DC, which sounds like their only show of 2023 with Ozzy. And then the Sunday night, the aforementioned Metallica with Tool.
Yeah.
So across 3 nights, you're going to get effectively 6 massive headline acts who would be headlining festivals all over the world. So we'll have to start raiding our piggy banks very, very soon, Matthew, if we want to go to Power Trip, because the tickets are $599.
Wow.
With VIP packages at $1,749. Plus flights, plus accommodation, plus your spending monies and shekels for beers. But AC/DC live this year.
I know. Yeah, it's quite something, that bill, isn't it? I mean, and those bands don't come cheap.
No.
I don't know what the underbill's like, but I imagine they're all being asked to pay for free to sort of to fund the headliners. But it's okay. You can watch AC/DC, everyone. So please pay for free. Great if you live in Indio, California. Imagine living just down the road. Must be great. Oh, that's on your doorstep. And, so you just got to pay your $599 entrance fee and you're in. And I imagine beers are, going to be like,
man,
$20 a piece, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, great that, AC/DC are back in some shape or form, of course. Whether this will, as you say, whether this will be a flash in the pan. I have a feeling that they will just do festivals. Angus Young celebrated his 68th birthday recently, and as you said, Brian Johnson's in his mid-70s. So I can't see them, doing big global tours again. But festivals like your downloads and the European festivals, and obviously this giant festival in America, maybe the way things will play out in the next few years for AC/DC, and maybe the other bands on the bill as well. Metallica recently said that they've got no more than 10 years left of touring in them, which is obviously different to playing a couple of festivals a year.
Yeah.
Because I think, they've realised that it's hard. It's hard, going around the world and living out of suitcases and in luxurious tour buses and flying in private jets and all that sort of stuff. It's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough life in Metallica these days, isn't it?
Exactly. No, we joke, of course.
Yeah. Won't be too long for their new album, 72 Seasons.
That's true. Coming out soon. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So what are new albums or new music? So we talked about Greta Van Fleet a couple of times on the podcast. So more recently, when we talked about their album Battle for Garden's Gate, which we thought was fantastic. They've got a similarly epic song out at the moment called Meeting the Master, which is from their new album, which is due out in July, called Starcatcher. I already feel it's going to be, that song, Meeting the Master, is going to be in my top 10 songs of the year, if not top 5. Listen to it. It's fantastic. We'll put it on the playlist. Yeah, looking forward to that album. Good old Greta Van Fleet.
The singer, how he's actually sounding even better on this recording. You listen to some singers and you go, I want to hear him do that live. That is just, it's a phenomenal performance. Taking nothing away from the rest of the guys, because musically, the drums, bass, guitar, it's all exceptional stuff. But the vocals are just, they're out of this world.
I know, amazing.
Yeah.
Josh Kiska. Do you remember when his birthday is, Brian, by any chance?
It's the same as yours.
It is.
Yay!
Yes.
Yay.
They cheered in unison, which is coming up soon. Right. So, any other news for us, Brian?
Well, talking about new music as well, too.
Yes.
You put me on to an absolutely phenomenal, it's like new rock on the block from 1987. And a fabulous band called Girish and the Chronicles. Back on Earth, yes. Matthew.
Oh. The recent album came out in January.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what led me to check it out, but yeah, I mean, it's got it's fantastic, isn't it? Check it out, everyone.
It is. Girish is. I know where I heard Girish from, or where the news around Girish was coming from. For me, was a band. It's an episode. I've got to mention Frontier Records, Matt.
Yes.
Ka-ching.
Another pound in the pot. Yes.
So, do you remember the band called The End Machine? Who I like. It's it's all of the members of Dokken, apart from Don Dokken, and the original singer in The End Machine was called Robert Mason. So Robert's actually left The End Machine now, and the third End Machine album will feature Girish and Joel Hoekstra, who we love from Whitesnake. And he's doing some shows and acoustic shows around the UK right at this moment in time. Some acoustic shows, but Joel has a solo career going as well, and Girish is going to be singing on Joel's new album. So he's moving in some very good rock circles at this moment in time. But what a great album, Matt! Right to Hell, Loaded is just, the best way I can describe it, Girish has got the package. He is just that 80s glam metal hair band, but with a little bit of heavy metal in it as well. Thank you very much. £15 well spent in my local record store, Matthew.
Very good.
For Girish.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah, some good songs on that album, packed with rock and roll cliches, and the obligatory ballad "Yesteryears," which is pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, it's got some great songs on it. Check it out. "Back on Earth" by Girish and the Chronicles. We'll put some songs on the old playlist from that. I also drew your attention to, in the new rock world, new rock on the block, an album called "Fearless" from Crown Lands. Now this is only been out a couple of weeks. Interesting album, right? Very much in the progressive rock genre. In fact, my friend Richard Monk drew my attention to it, and I passed it on to you. What did you think about "Fearless" by Crown Lands, right?
Matthew, I thought that this album was a secret album made by Rush in 1979. That era of Rush that I like, that, sort of Permanent Waves, moving pictures era, the soaring vocals. I can't believe that Cody and Kevin are actually Canadian as well too. It just, new rock on the block, reminiscent of 1980s Rush. We're in that territory, aren't we, around kind of Kingdom Come, Led Zeppelin, Crown Lands, and Rush. There's quite a lot of similarities. Great album. If you want some new prog, go and check out Crown Land, Fearless.
Yeah.
Great.
No, I would agree. I don't really know what to think of it, to be honest with you. I mean, I sensed it was more sort of Hemisphere's Farewell to Kings era Rush.
Okay.
Late 70s. Because there are bits of it you think, hang on a minute, that sounds a bit like Xanadu or Villa Strangiato or, whatever. That said, it is good. I mean, if you want to really immerse yourself into something which is contemporary prog, albeit heavily influenced by Rush, and I think they hold their hands up. It's from the same part of Canada as Rush, an excellently named place called Oshawa on Ontario. Just the two of them, as you say, two guys, just amazing musicianships. So yeah, check it out. "Fearless" by Crown Lands, and the album cover is very kind of Roger Dean meets Rodney Matthews. Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Some as always, some good music out. More to come. We talked about earlier with Greta Van Fleet and Metallica. So Yeah, it's going to be tough when we choose our albums of the year, Bri, this year.
It is, and
but that is a long, long way off.
It's a long, long way. But one artist we cannot, and band that we cannot, this is our opportunity, and Lord Vivian of Campbell would not forgive us if we didn't give a mention to the new Last in Line album, which was released a few days ago. Jericho was released on the 31st of March. Obviously, Last in Line, we've got two original members from the Dio band, Vinny Appice and Vivian Campbell. Phil Suzanne, who joined the band after the sad passing of Jimmy Bain. The album is a lot more rock, and it has a bit of a psychedelic feel to it, but I would, Not Today's Satan, which is the lead-off track, Ghost Town, Burning Bridges, it's even Walls of Jericho. It's a great, great album, but the star of the show and the star of the album for me is Andrew Freeman. Andrew's singing on the album is just... wow, he's just sounding really good. Last in Line are now starting to have their own sound, Matt. I'm sure they will still play some Dio era, classics. But a very, very strong album from Vivian and Co. So Last in Line, Jericho, out now. Go and get it.
So, Brian, that brings us to our new-ish feature of Book Club of Rock.
Yep.
We haven't got a jingle for it yet, have we, really?
No.
We have to work on one. Maybe with your limited musical ability, you could sort something out.
Okay.
So this is... because I'm a very prolific reader, Brian.
You are indeed, as am I now.
Well, yes. Under duress, you are. But, I do read... do you know, I joke about it. I'm more now like one book a month.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty admirable, because I'm traveling more now, we're now going to the office, I'm moving around, and so I read, which is nice. So this book is it's an absolute cracker of a book. It's a few years old now. It's Mustaine, A Life in Metal. It's the autobiography of Dave Mustaine. For those who don't know, Dave Mustaine is the basically the lead guitarist, lead singer of Megadeth, and has been since the early 80s. It's a really good read. It's really well written. It's quite poignant in places, quite uplifting. He's had a tough ride over the years, famously fired by Metallica before their first album was recorded back in 83 because of his overindulgence mainly in alcohol. But over the years, he's been through various drug rehabilitations. He was from essentially a very difficult kind of upbringing in his early home life, and like a lot of people found some sort of degree of comfort in music, but it's built up Megadeth over the years, and this is essentially his story and the story of Megadeth. Numerous personnel changes, again, similar indulgences to Dave himself. But these days he's clean, he's sober, he's a born-again Christian, he's recently recovered from cancer, he's had so many things thrown at him, but he's still going strong. He's resolved his differences with Metallica. And as I say, it's a really good read. It's a few years old now. It doesn't deal with his cancer in the last few years, but well worth checking out. It's a really good read. Mustaine, A Life in Metal. There you go.
I will give that a read, Matthew.
You'll read the summary on Amazon, won't you? I can tell.
Do you know what? I think the people like Dave. There's always a villain of the piece, isn't there, in the history of a band, And I have to say, having watched Some Kind of Monster, whenever Dave comes in, and they're working through their issues, I'll not get this right when Dave is speaking to Lars, and I'm not sure if James is there, but he talks about his little Danish friend, and Dave's really reaching out. He's he really had a tough time following his exit from Metallica, and he had a really rough time of it. And he's come, as you say, he's come out the other end, and he's probably now one of the godfathers of metal. And he would, if he had, I know in the in recent magazines and online, he'd push for another big four. He'd like to get the Anthrax, Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth to all play again. So he comes across as a really, really sincere guy. And Marty Friedman. When Megadeth were playing in Japan recently, Marty Friedman came out and played with the band. So no ill feeling, he seems to have, he seems a really, really good guy.
He is, yeah, you're right. I mean, he's resolved all his differences with the Metallica boys, with guys that he's had to let go from Megadeth, and it's also a good opportunity for me to put loads of Megadeth songs on the playlist, of course. So that's the real reason why I've reviewed this book. Yay! So that was Book Club of Rock.
Excellent.
For another episode.
So Matthew, so for this episode, I get the pleasure of choosing the Unsung Hero. And the Unsung Hero I'm picking...
Which we need a jingle for as well.
We need a jingle for it as well too.
I think it should be similar to the other jingle. Unsung Hero time.
I feel this is going to be a variation in the theme just to save us from copyright, Matthew. Exactly,
because we're going to have to sue ourselves now for plagiarism.
Exactly. We will be the new millennials version of John Fogerty.
That's right.
I am going to sue myself. So this episode's Unsung Hero that I've chosen is sadly a musician who's just recently passed away. But when I mention the work and the catalogue of this gentleman, you will know that he is a very, very worthy unsung hero. This man is Ian Berntsen. I know everybody, once I say this band and this song, everybody's going to be thinking this. So Ian was the guitar player in the 70s band Pilot, who had a couple of big singles, very multi-layered vocals. The single I remember, which was Magic. And I know everybody who's on the podcast, they're all going to be going, oh. It's fabulous. And then you had January. So Ian was the guitar player in Pilot, and a lot of the members of Pilot, Ian and Davy Payton. So Davy Payton was the bass player and the singer in Pilot. Were core members of the Alan Parsons Project, which was very progressive rock band in the 70s. But where I know Ian from, and again, an excuse for me to put some Kate Bush on the playlist. Ian was the guitar player on Kate Bush's 5 of her albums, and he plays the guitar solo at the end of her debut single, Wuthering Heights. So that glorious guitar, a lot of people, when they hear that, put that solo down to, well, Dave Gilmour must have played it. No, it was played by Ian Berntsen. So we'll stick some Pilot and some Kate Bush on the playlist for Ian Berntsen, who was my unsung hero for this episode, Matt.
Very good, very good. I remember Pilot. Yeah, I do remember them. As you say, January and Magic and so on. And you're right, I was in the camp of thinking that solo was played by Dave Gilmour. But I stand corrected after all these years.
There you go.
Yeah. So, Brian, that brings us to the latest episode in the new feature, the A to Z of Rock. So, we did A last time, which brings us to, of course, the letter B.
Yes.
B for Brian. As I said, we're doing this in sequential, dare I say, alphabetical order. So B this week.
But you say B for Brian, but
yes.
if you were going to put me in the A to Z of Rock, you'll have me in an M, because we're doing
That's true.
surnames.
Yes. We established that last time, didn't we?
We did.
Yes, it's the surname which is the deciding factor as to where you sit in the. I'll be way down the list. Obviously, I'm way in the future.
Well, the thing is, with the greatest respect, mate.
Yes.
Your name is Rogers, and I think when we get to R, if I have to choose between you and Paul Rodgers.
Yes.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, that's charming. But I totally understand. Anyway, let's stick with B. So, Brian, there's only really one place to start.
Yeah.
The letter B. The gods, the godfathers, the founders of heavy metal, maybe. Black Sabbath.
Yes.
Now, normally this is an excuse for me to do my Tony Iommi impersonation, but I won't this time because I think we've had enough of that for a while. I shall revisit that when we get to I for Iommi, but not T for Tony, as we established last time. Black Sabbath, right. Called it a day a few years ago. Well, not surprising because they started in 1968.
With the they were called Earth, weren't they originally?
Well, they were called Earth briefly. They were briefly also called the Polka Talk Blues Band, which I'm glad they dispensed with that, to be honest with you.
Can't imagine that band playing War Pigs, can you?
No, exactly. But yeah, formed in 1968. I mean, essentially, the lineup that lasted for the majority of their career, really. I mean, they've had quite a number of different members in the latter years, of course. But essentially, I think most people remember them for the classic Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, Ozzy Osbourne lineup. I mean, just amazing songs over the years. Of course, Paranoid, I think, is probably their most well-known song. Along with War Pigs and Iron Man, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and so on. Just amazing band, amazing legacy. And, you know, as we've said once or twice, really, I suppose you could kind of trace it all back to Tony Iommi chopping the tops of his fingers off, having to use lighter gauge strings on his guitar or detune. I mean, you know a little bit about playing the guitar, not much, but I mean, you know, that he would have had to kind of obviously allow for his damaged fingers, and the rest is history. Obviously had a resurgence with Ronnie Dio in the 80s, which I think is an amazing era, that Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules era. It's we couldn't start anywhere else but with Black Sabbath, Brian.
And to bring it right up to date, this year, I believe that Black Sabbath will be re-releasing remastered versions of the Live Evil album, which famously, I believe, is the album where it all went wrong for Ronnie and Tony when people were going into the studio and allegedly turning bits down in the mix, either drums too loud or vocals too high, or so it's getting the whole remastering reissue Live Evil, but you can't stand anywhere heavier than Black Sabbath.
It's very true. So, what you got for us in the world of the bees?
Isn't it funny? Black's probably going to be a theme in this bee, because for me, there seems to be more than one man in black, Matthew. To me, the man in black is Richie Blackmore. The mystique is, but obviously Johnny Cash can lay claim to the man in black as well too. But for our little podcast, the man in black for me is Mr. Richard Hugh Blackmore, a founding member of Deep Purple. Deep Purple's catalogue, maybe when we get to R and we talk about riffs, probably, you've mentioned Paranoid, probably one of the greatest rock and roll riffs of all time, or heavy metal riffs, is Smoke on the Water. So Richie, what more can we say? Richie Blackmore, Deep Purple, Rainbow. He's obviously playing his traditional folk music with Blackmore's Night. He's been doing it for 25 years. Resurrects Rainbow now and again. But we can't have the A to Z of rock and bees without Mr. Richie Blackmore.
No, indeed. Yes, good shout. Again, one of the masters and one of the founders of, I guess you could say, the most influential rock musicians there's ever been. You mentioned Paul Rodgers earlier, actually. Of course, the great Paul Rodgers, probably without a doubt our favourite singer.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, back in 1974, formed what yeah, you see what I did there?
That. Bad Company.
Who were, I forget what it's called, when you bring different people from different bands together. They were one of the first examples. That was it. On the first supergroups, Paul Rodgers and Simon Kirke from Free, of course, Boz Burrell from King Crimson, and Mick Ralphs from Mott the Hoople. And I was listening to the first Bad Company album recently, and considering it was released in 1974, it's absolutely amazing.
It is.
Nearly 50 years ago, and it's just we many times we've talked about albums and bands staying the test of time, but this album, the first Bad Company album, start to finish, just amazing. Some great songs on there, and they carried it on through their career, and still, as you said, a bit like Ritchie Blackmore and his Rainbow, still pop up every now and again. We've seen them a couple of times over the years, we've mentioned on the old podcast, but we can't have Bees without Bad Company, can we? Amazing band.
Yeah, we often talk about artists, new bands and their debut albums, and you don't get much better than Bad Company's debut album. And as you say, an album that was released 49 years ago. Interestingly, Matt, when you talk about 1974 and the release of Bad Company's debut album, another album that was released, and probably my favourite album beginning with B, is Burn by Deep Purple, which features Ritchie Blackmore. It would have been phenomenal to be a fan and living in 1973-74, where Gillan and Glover have left the band. You mentioned Paul Rodgers. Paul Rodgers was possibly going to be joining Deep Purple. And that was one of the reasons why Glenn Hughes was going to join Deep Purple, because he thought he would be singing and playing alongside Paul Rodgers. But Burn, the debut album of David Coverdale, it's probably a bit like Bad Company. You listen to Burn today, and it's a masterpiece. So absolutely. For me, Matt, I offer Burn from Deep Purple as my album of the Bees.
Yeah, tremendous. You're absolutely right. From top to toe, an absolutely marvellous album. Burn, Might Just Take Your Life, Mistreated's on there, You Fool No One, and so on. Songs that were covered by Whitesnake in the early period of their career. But yeah, timeless songs. Good stuff.
And a band I know you love, and
yes.
and a band that I know you'd love to see if hopefully they'll get back together one day, is the Temperance Movement. And the Temperance Movement brought an album out of some rarities and live tracks, and they actually do a really great version of You Fool No One with Ian Pace on drums. So if we can put that on the playlist as well too, Matt, because Ian Pace's drumming is great, but the Temperance Movement sound really good on it as well too. So great rock and roll cover of a
we'll put all the versions on.
Yeah,
it's such a good song. Whitesnake, Deep Purple, Temperance Movement, good stuff. Another B, which if you're a rock fan in the 70s and 80s, and now of course maybe a bit of a comeback probably for nostalgia reasons, is the good old Battle Jacket.
Oh no!
Now I'm never quite sure what they're called, Battle Jackets. But you had one, of course, didn't you, Brian, famously with your Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell.
Oh, how rock I was.
Another amazing B album, the Bat Out of Hell album, of course. But yeah, your famous... you found that jacket yet, Brian?
No. Thankfully.
You might have got it when you went to see your mum. Birthday, but okay. We look forward to that. The good old Battle Jacket. Not sure we used to call them that. Cut-off denim back in the day, or just denim jacket. But of course, adorned with patches and painting and embroidery and so on. I remember being very creative in the early days with the old needle and thread, and then painting, and obviously then embellishing it with patches and studs and everything. But they've become quite an art form now. Needless to say, with the arms cut off, but I don't think the arms cut off is compulsory. Did you have your arms cut off, Brian?
No, I didn't. Mine.
No.
I was going to ask you. You know, was a battle jacket? Was it arms off or arms on?
I think it's either. I think because the arms give you more patch territory.
And you can wear it over your leather jacket. That, to me, battle jacket's over your leather jacket.
Yeah. But I don't know why it's called battle jacket, because most rock people and heavy metal people are very placid. But I guess you're going into battle, and with the concert. And as I've said many times, when I used to go in, it was a bit of a fight sometimes to get my hair. I was in row 3 and my hair was in row 33. That was a bit of a battle, trying, get hold of my hair. But those days have gone, right?
They have.
The good old battle to be combined quite often with the old bullet belt.
Oh, of course.
I had a bullet belt. I'll tell you a quick story. I wore it to a party once, and for some reason, it must have been about 15, and leant up against someone's fridge in the kitchen, because all good parties in those days took place in the kitchen for some reason. No matter how big the rest of the house was, everyone was in the kitchen. I managed to scratch the gouge bullet marks into the top of this lovely Hot Point fridge, which I did get mentioned afterwards. I think the parents let me off. God bless them. So battle jackets and bullet belts.
I wore a bullet belt once, Matthew.
Did you?
I did. I wore it at the 6th form Christmas concert when I was playing in the school band, and I wore a pair of fake leather trousers with a bullet belt.
Wow.
And it wasn't my finest look. Thankfully, there isn't any footage of it. And I had a Fender Stratocaster, and I was petrified, Matt, of scoring the back of my...
Setting fire to yourself. The leather trousers.
Exactly. So yeah. But do you know what? If you want one for your birthday, mate, I can get you one for $9.99 on Etsy.
I'm fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no, I'll survive. So that's it. That's it for the bees.
Bees, yes.
Notable mentions, of course. Bon Jovi. We've mentioned them a few times. Got a Bon Jovi. Boston. The city, the band. The city has spawned Extreme and Aerosmith, of course.
Yeah.
Various other bands with black in their title. Blackstone Cherry, Black Country Communion, Black Star Riders, Blackberry Smoke. Oh, my goodness. The colour black is obviously ubiquitous throughout rock, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Budgie.
Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Yes. BTO. We'll put a few of their You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet songs on the old playlist, of course.
And let's not forget the first lady of rock, in my opinion, Pat Benatar.
Yes. Amazing. Oh, I could sense this playlist is going to be amazing. We'll put some Pat Benatar stuff on there as well. So that was it.
Yep.
Next time, it's going to be the letter
C.
Yes. Brought to you by the letter C.
So, Matthew.
Yes.
We come to the final chapter in this episode of For Those About to Pod, We Salute You. And we cannot finish the show without...
Hidden Gems Eyes.
Yes, thanks, Lola. That was great. Just like every other time.
Exactly,
Fantastic.
exactly. Although I do try to get my vocal on it, but you never let me,
No, please don't. Please don't, Brian.
Okay. So, my hidden gem, Matthew, for this episode is a band that we will see early on the bill at the Stalehouse Festival this year on the Saturday, no late, and they're going to be playing at midday. They've been quite specific. It's a wonderful band called Austin Gold. So,
Austin Powers.
No, Austin Gold. So Austin Gold, they've played at Rambling Man. Classic Rock has given them some great reviews in the past. They released, I don't know how we missed it last year. They released an album last year called Those City Lights, and I've been listening to one of the last singles off the album, which is called Mountain, and just took me into their new album. It's in that lovely southern rock feel. There's so much great music about at the moment. The likes of the Karma Effect. You turned me on to Dirty Honey, but check out, everybody, the album, a real great hidden gem, Those City Lights, from Austin Gold, who will be playing at the Steelhouse Festival this year on the Saturday. So we will see them, mate.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, I've heard a few songs of theirs. Yeah, they're good, aren't they? Really good. Yeah, looking forward to seeing them. Midday. Would you make it midday? You know what you're like.
As long as you don't make me go to the disco on Friday night.
I promise that.
Okay, all right.
But, yeah, we should be all right for midday. That's a good shout. Good shout. Check that out. Put some songs on the playlist. Austin Gold, of course, not Austin Powers. So I've got another book, actually.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
I am prolific. I should have saved this for a book club of rock, but I'm going to go with it anyway. So do you remember Kelvin, our social media guru?
Yeah.
Erstwhile social media guru. Good old Kelvin. Well, he gave me this recommendation a little while ago, and I remembered it, and I've been reading it recently. I haven't quite finished it, but it's an excellent book. It's called Never a Dull Moment: The Story of 1971, Rock's Golden Year. Now, many may argue, and many people have got their own personal view of rock's golden year. For me, it was 1980. For you, it's probably 85, 86, Brian.
Yeah.
But this is written by David Hepworth, who turned 21 in 1971. And it's a really good read. It deals with a lot of the bands, a lot of releases, all genres that were released in 1971, from the Stones, Rod Stewart, Carole King, and so on. And it explores a lot of the events of that year. A lot of what was going on in the world, and it's a really, really good read. It's, as I say, it's excellently written by David Hepworth, who's a very well-known, very respected journalist. And simple as that. Recommend it. It's available on Amazon. Got some great reviews, and I will add to those reviews because it is a really, really good book. So, 1971, Never a Dull Moment by David Hepworth. Check it out, boys and girls.
Fabulous recommendation, Matt. Really good. And David Hepworth as well too. As much as writing the books, if you go into well-stocked record stores as well too, for some of the years that David has looked at, he does supporting albums as well too, which go along with the book as well. So yeah, great shout. 1971, fabulous.
So Brian, that's it. The end of another episode. Episode 45, done. You enjoy that?
I thought it was fab. I'm desperate. I want to get through to episode 50 at some point, Matt, because then we can do the top 50 albums that are 50 years old.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah.
Do you think anybody would notice if we skipped to episode 50 at the next episode?
Yeah, I think they would. Yeah, I would. I like to do things in order, right?
Okay.
As we know, with the A to Z of rock.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time, and take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. And
we're on all usual social media channels, so you'll get us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us out. And thanks again for everybody who donated to Shelter, and for our prize fund winners. We'll get all of your presents off to you very soon, and we'll do one in the very near future as well too. So thanks for supporting that. We will see you all next time. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Those About the Pub, we salute you, is a Maylie Rogers production.